Welcome in, Frostburg State fans. We are back with the Frostburg Sports Awards for the first time in this spring season. We're kicking things off with one of our new coaches who's going to be our pseudo coach of the week, Jeff Horton, who has been selected to lead our new women's rugby program. Jeff, for starting off, welcome to Frostburg. How have you found the town and everything so far since you've been hired?
Thank you so much for having me, Logan. It's been a great experience thus far. I just got here December 1st, so we hit the ground running, and I haven't been able to experience a lot of what Frostburg has to offer, but what I have experienced, it's been great.
Certainly hope that continues throughout your tenure here. Wanted to start off with, first off, just what made you choose this job in this area for a head coaching opportunity, starting a program literally from the ground up here at Frostburg?
Yeah, so starting programs, it's kind of been my weird niche in the sport of rugby, and some of that's just because of the inherent sport of women's rugby and the growth that we have. But even when I started playing in high school, I was part of my first ever high school rugby team, and then I started a team at Youngstown State University, started a team at Guilford College. So I'm glad to finally have a place that wants to see the sport grow and are willing to put the resources behind it. And I think that was one of the most impressive things about Frostburg State from the go is the amount of support from the administration and the rest of the staff here.
As certainly you would have known now from your various stops that it takes quite a bit to build a program. In talks of your first recruiting class and what you want from athletes, what are sort of the benefits and the challenges of getting high school athletes to come here in terms of women's rugby and, what you find either difficult or rewarding about it?
Yeah, definitely whenever you're trying to start a new program, there's a lot of faith that needs to be had from the players coming into the program. So really what we try and do is position the school as a whole and say, this is going to be a great student-athlete experience, and this is what we can do for a long-term vision. It's a very unique type of athlete that is interested in those types of opportunities, and we're very thankful for the amount of interest that we've had thus far. Our first class is shaping up to be great. We have recruits coming in from Canada, from Idaho, all over the country. And so as it sits right now, we're on target to hit 16 that are coming in some form of scholarship. And then we're looking to round that out with a handful of walk-ons on campus.
Certainly excited to see some of those incoming athletes and the ones currently here that are going to be able to compete. And speaking of competing, scheduled to have the first season this upcoming fall for you guys. What would be sort of your expectations and hopes for the team, where obviously a new program competing against some established teams within the region and all across the country, as you mentioned, versus wanting to compete and still win and show that you're here to compete and win yourself?
Yeah, what's really unique about our opening schedule is we not only have great competition in traditional Division II, but we also have competition against Army West Point as well as Mount St. Mary's, so some D1 competition in there too. And for us, it's not necessarily about the wins and losses, but more so setting the standard of what we want Frostburg State to be known as a women's rugby institution. So a lot of that's going to go into the culture. A lot of that is going to be into what the expectations are going to be for the future. And the exciting part for these athletes is they're the ones that get to set that tone. So they're excited about the opportunity, and we're excited to see what we can do on the field.
In terms of this being a new emerging sport for women that the NCAA is considering that's adding, you've obviously made your stops and seen how far it can go. Rugby is one of those sports where, in general, a lot of people in the U.S. aren't fully aware of it, and then even less people are going to be aware that it's a women's sport as well, that they're women's rugby competitors. How do you view kind of the growth of the sport, how far it's come along during not just your coaching tenure, but basically your life since you started playing the sport, and what are sort of your expectations of how you can continue to grow it?
That's a great question, and I think I'd reference anyone that's not familiar with the sport to check out the women's national team social media, because the number one thing that they do is actually make fun of the traditional people that are like, oh, women can play rugby, that's so brave, congratulations. And so it's just kind of making light of the situation. But quite frankly, the sport of rugby is only going to grow as far as the women want to take it in the U.S. And so that's why there's so much opportunity right now through the NCAA Emerging Pathway as well as other opportunities. And I think that we have a responsibility now that we're backing as a school-sponsored sport to say, not only, let's make a footprint at the university, but in the greater Western Maryland community as a whole. We already have people reaching out from Pittsburgh and Washington, D.C. and saying, how can we integrate, what you're doing with the overall growth of the sport? And I think that's really positive to see long-term.
Well, Coach, thank you for coming on today to talk to us. Obviously, you've been very busy with your scheduling and trying to get recruits, but we appreciate your time here. Want to wish you the best of luck here in your fall competition that's going to be coming up, and wish you the best of luck in Frostburg in general as well.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and we're really excited to show everyone what we're about to do with this sport, and I won't steal your line of Go Bobcats.